tar macadam of the midnight road glitters with dew and reflected moonlight. Over the hills you can see distant furnaces glowing, telegraph towers winking and airships lumbering slowly across the sky. But here the woods are dark with secrets. The only light is the hard white beam thrown by the lime lantern of your Velesteam. Somewhere in the night is your next target, a steam carriage, carrying rich passengers in warmth and privilege, insulated from the struggles of their countrymen by ignorance and indulgence. Little do they expect the sudden and terrible attack of the Steam Highwayman. How did you come here? So these 4 options here are actually 4 options to write your own backstory. They're all relatively short, but they have quite an important function because the 4 different choices here will choose your starting stats. You can also pick up unique items from choosing one of these 4 options, and you can have a backstory which will possibly influence your motivation in some of your choices later on. I'm going to begin with the final option on here. I am a disgraced and penniless heir. That's 1, 2, 5. So off we go to 1, 2, 5. Every individual is truly alone in this world, that is clear. Your past mistakes may have cost you your inheritance and your place in society, but they cannot decide your future. Perhaps the gambling addiction that ate up your family fortune and lands is not yet sated. Well, now you will gamble with your own life. As the disgraced and penniless heir to a noble line, it was less shameful to flee than to return to your father's house empty-handed. There is little for you but the desperate way of a highwayman. The roads and turnpikes of the region offer you hiding places, and the steam carriages of merchants offer you riches for the taking, if you are bold enough. Once you have collected enough capital, you may be able to buy your way back into the nobility. The real test is whether you will be welcome at the Cliveden Society Ball. Wealth, regardless of its source, opens many doors nowadays. You have in your possession a blunder pistol, accuracy 6, a sabre, parry 6, and a deck of marked cards. So this is the starting equipment list and stats for one of the 4 characters that you can choose to play with. We've got Ruthlessness 4, Engineering 3, Motoring 3, Ingenuity 4, Nimbleness 4, Gallantry 6. Being a member of the nobility, it's natural that our gallantry score will be quite high on this playthrough. But that motoring of 3 is quite low. We're going to need to find something to boost that as soon as we can. Perhaps we'll get hold of some nice motoring goggles or some gauntlets, or perhaps a couple of improvements to our Velesteam to see if we can improve that score when we can. The mark cards, they've got an interesting little side story with them, which you can just come across in a couple of places. And the blunder pistol and saber are the standard weapons that you start the game with. So it's time for us to head off to 324. We'll see if we can find our way to riches and reacceptance into the ranks of the nobility. And now you sit astride a fast machine, armed, ruthless, and shrouded in the dark like a bird of prey in its folded wings. Several wagons and engines pass on the road, but none presents you with a suitable target until a private steam carriage with fashionable oriental styling makes its way up the slope. It stops a small distance down the road, and you can hear the plummy voice of the passenger berating his engineman. "Get that pressure up, Jackson. We should be in Slough by now. Slowly, I say, at the foot, and then full ahead at the crest." The fireman and driver dismount to check the drive chain. The rich young man who must be their employer gets out to look as well. "Get out of the way, Howis. Look, you're running her on too little pressure. No wonder the drive is slack." The driver tugs at his forelock. "Begging your pardon, my lord, but the pressure's right where it should be for this un. She's new and—" The sound of an angry blow to the face rings through the wood. "How dare you, Jackson?" says my lord, his voice rising to a fervent pitch. "She's my engine, and I'll tell you how to drive her." It seems this son of privilege has not yet completed his education. You are perfectly placed to teach him a thing or two. All that remains is to choose the manner in which you will deal with him. You can use your natural ingenuity to try to fool him, your ruthlessness to terrify him, or you can attack him without warning and knock him down. So, these options, ingenuity of 4, ruthlessness of 4, they seem pretty much an even choice since we're going to have to roll a couple of dice and add them on. Launching myself into him will just start the fight straight off, so I think let's see if we can try a little bit of guile first. Let's see if we can trick him and head over to 195. Let's see if we can play a trick on my lord. You pull your cloak over your head and bend yourself over, in mockery of an old beggar woman, and quickly grasp a few wet branches from the hedgerow. Then you hobble out into the roadway towards the tableau. "Oh, kind young sir, lend a poor widdy woman a cup of hot water." He turns on the spot. Make an ingenuity roll of difficulty 9 to take him off his guard. Right, well, I've got ingenuity 4, 2 dice. Odds are in my favour on this one. I only need to get a 6 or above. So here we go. Let's see what I roll. And it's a 6. We just scraped that through. Thankfully, I'm ingenious enough to trick him this time. Successful ingenuity roll it is. Off we go to 729. Passage 729. 729. The young man is bemused. "Hot water, old woman? At this time of night? Shouldn't you be in your cottage or something? Ow!" By the time he finishes his sentence, you have him in an armlock with your blade at his throat. He quickly loses his arrogance and his bladder control. You take his purse, which contains £3 10 shillings, and leave him to try and regain his composure. Excellent. So we've got our first cash there, £3 10. That's going to be very useful later. Our first robbery is a success. We have robbed my lord, some chap on the road who was mistreating his servants. So that's a good bit of a natural justice served there. Yabu sucks to him. Let's go and see what we can do with our money. Ride away into the woods, into the night. Off we go. Passage 23. The lights of a nearby roadhouse draw you in, and soon you are seated in a warm nook, facing the fire with a tankard of ale and a hearty meal in front of you. The wind and rain are forgotten, the risk and danger have passed, and your heart is beginning to beat at its proper pace. There is a sudden commotion at the door, and a too familiar figure limps in dramatically and falls in a chair. "House! House, I say! I've been robbed on the road. A posse of highwaymen, must have been at least 4, had to fight for my life. House! I thought this was a reputable place." Well, on we go. 259. The landlord ushers the young gentleman into an inner room, and the inn servants are sent rushing for hot water, hot food, warmed wine, and every luxury that nobility demands. "You know something about it, I reckon," says a man, recognizable as the local miller from his flour dust covering. "What is it to you?" you ask belligerently. "Starving crows, I don't mind if you thieve off a knob or two. Maybe I would if I dared. I just want to know what makes you do it." So we've got a choice here. We can either answer the miller, the rich deserve punishment, or the poor need help. I'm going to head with the rich deserve punishment, because I'm in a particularly vengeful mood right now. Off we go. "You're right," answers the miller. "Wealth gives them power, but they use the power to enrich themselves, fix the land on their pathetic offspring. We've got to show them. You want to talk to Comrade Fever if you think like that. She's got a way of putting things, shows you how things really are. And you know what? The revolution is coming, comrade, it's coming." The man gives you a small brass disc, engraved with a number. Add pass disc 101 to your possessions. Okay. Well, we will find out later that these brass pass discs are used by the anarchists and revolutionaries to pass messages and show who they trust among the many people you'll meet around the world. So let's see if we can get anywhere. Asked to meet Comrade Fever. Let's head on down to 708. He smiles. "I can't take you there, comrade. She's the regional director of the Compact for Workers' Equality. What you want to do is to head to Woburn Green. That's where we're in force, you see. Show this pass disc in the gin shops down there, and you'll quickly get through to Comrade Fever." The miller leaves you to finish your meal and settle into the chair for the night. Could these revolutionaries really have an answer to the injustice of the land? You stay awake long into the night, as the privileged and poverty-stricken march past your mind's eye. The Crooked Billet is a small country inn, hidden well away from the noise and smoke of the steam revolution. No heavy freight wagons pass this way, nor the private steam carriages of the gentry, and the local folk are suspicious of outsiders. It is an ideal hideout. To take a room here, you will need to pay £2 and tick the box below. Well, we're not going to take that room. because I rather value the £3 I've got, and I'm not ready yet to need a room. Within the game book, you can hire a room at various inns and pubs, or if you make friends with number of characters, you can stay at their houses or in one of their hideaways. They're really important for healing up your wounds. At the moment, that's not so relevant. I've not got wounded. I didn't have to fight my lord when I stopped him and robbed him on the road. And I haven't got any possessions I need to stash away yet either. I've only got my saber, blunder pistol, and pass disc. So we're going to leave the inn and head off on an adventure. 291. We're going to need to have a little bit of an explore because we're quite a long way away from anywhere that we can rob people at the moment. But it will mean that as we head over towards one of the better locations, we might meet some things along the way. You are midway along the dusty little thoroughfare known as Sheepridge Lane. This tiny road bypasses Bourne End entirely and runs between Flackwell Heath on the high ground and the Marlow Road beside the river. High hedgerows fringe the roadway, and nestled between the trees stands the Crooked Billet Inn, as we know, because we just come from there. Now we can choose to ride towards Marlow, head into Bourne End, or drive towards Flackwell Heath. So, if I just note that number there, we're at passage 291. Let's have a little work out where we are using the map. I'll scoot back up. I really enjoy designing this map. It is based off an OS map originally of the region that I bought when I was living there, and just love poring over that to find all the names of the villages, even the lanes, the little moments where it mentions oak in the field, you know, some sort of ancient tree that's worth noting on a map. 1 to 25,000, obviously. Oh, yes. And later I did a couple of versions of this map just through screen tracing, and the proportions are all there. So if you can get this up to scale alongside Google Maps or something else, you'll see that your journey through my world really matches pretty closely. So we've got Sheepridge Lane towards the top of the map there, just running from Flackwell Heath down towards the road between Little Marlow and Bourne End. Horton Wood immediately to the west, fairly peaceful wood. Bourne End's quite a useful little place. You can see there's a sign on there for a pub and a church, a village, another pub opposite on the river. Sheepridge Lane, you can see the pub halfway up it, that's the Crooked Billet. Over there in the very top corner is Cutthroat Wood. Now that's one of the best locations for finding yourself some prey to rob, some rich people on the road, driving between Wickham and London. Can be dangerous though, you might bump into some constables there, but at the moment we are not wanted by the constables, we're scot-free, nobody knows we exist. £3 10 not much money in the purse right now, and my stats are a little bit low to start robbing people at the moment. I wouldn't be relying on my ruthlessness. I'd need to use something like my gallantry, which is my highest stat, but actually gallantry is not really going to help me stop anybody on the road. So perhaps I could do better by improving my ruthlessness somewhere, maybe buying an eye patch, maybe getting hold of something scary to wear like that, which I can show off. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that I remember I can buy an eye patch or something like that in High Wycombe at the market there. So perhaps I'll head up towards High Wycombe first before going to Cutthroat Wood and try and boost my stat. But I'm going to leave the adventure just there for a moment. I'm at 291, just outside the Crooked Billet on Sheepridge Lane. I've robbed my first member of the nobility, and really the world is my oyster at this stage. So I hope you've enjoyed this small part of the playthrough and read through of the first section of Steam Highwayman. And if you've enjoyed it, please consider having a look at the other playthrough videos while I continue this adventure. Or head over to martinbarnabasnouch.com/Steam-Highwayman, where you can follow the project in a bit more detail and find out about the launch date and the Kickstarter funding process, which is hopefully going to start off this autumn.